And for me, you know, when they started playing that John 49, that Gethsemane music that he'd written, I mean, I just tears were streaming down me. And it really was a very, very moving moment. And I guess for a lot of the audience, seeing that and hearing that music for the first time, they would have felt the same way.
With the West End audience seemingly more spiritually relaxed than on Broadway, Superstar appealed to believer and non-believer alike.
This was something that people could relate to. And its producer, Robert Stigwood, created this incredibly ingenious idea, which had never been done before, of replicating the production around the globe.
It was Robert who realised that you had to roll these musicals out very fast. And in fact, he changed the whole way the musical theatre was considered. And I owe a huge debt to him because it was Robert's gamble and his sort of showmanship that I guess I learned an awful lot from.
I wanna see my God. Earlier British musicals like Oliver had found success by trading on their Britishness. The story of Jesus Christ was universal, allied with a contemporary soundtrack and modern staging, and its appeal could be limitless. After the success of Superstar, Andrew Lloyd Webber returned to more traditional British fare with the P.G. Wodehouse-inspired Jeeves. It flopped, running for just over a month. Meanwhile, Tim Rice had another off-the-wall idea for a musical.
I'd already got this idea about Eva Peron, and so I was working on that for quite a while on my Todd. And while Andrew was doing Jeeves, I did approach one or two other composers to see if they'd be interested, including Paul McCartney, funnily enough. Nobody wanted to know.
Their reluctance was understandable. Most successful musicals were based on well-known books or plays. Evita was the real-life story of a South American dictator's wife. With the failure of Jeeves, Andrew came on board.
Nobody really knew much about Eva Peron when we did the show. And it was clearly a slightly strange topic to go for. But on the other hand, it was a great story, and story is king.
I don't expect my love affairs to last for long.
Just as they had with Superstar, Lloyd Webber and Rice released a concept album first, but this time not out of necessity, but design.
It's a bit like an out-of-town run, really. I think on the whole we'd rather do that than do the out-of-town run, certainly for Evita. And we're, if you like, testing the music. And had the record been a total disaster, then I think we wouldn't have gone ahead with the show.
Another suitcase in another hole.
The album also generated publicity and provided Julie Covington with a #1 hit. An accomplished actress, Covington was the natural choice to play Evita on the stage. But against all expectations, she turned the part down.
Well, Julie just didn't want to do it. And we thought, oh my gosh, if she doesn't do it, this could be a major blow to the show. But it was the best thing that happened in a way, not because, I mean, she probably would have been great, but it was great because there was a kind of nationwide search.
The audition period for me for Evita was long and tedious. I must have auditioned 8, 9, I don't know, 10 times. Everybody, the world and his wife, auditioned for this role.
Every day, ladies were photographed going in for the auditions.
Faye Dunaway, Liza Minnelli, Barbara Streisand, all these names were being bandied about.
Several of them announced that they turned it down. It got down eventually to about half a dozen possibles, of which Elaine was one.
My doorbell went at about midnight, and to my surprise, it was my agent. The role of, yes, get on with it, Libby. Eva Peron is, yes, just tell me, yours. I was so stunned and excited and shocked. Here I was with the most coveted role in musical theatre for donkey's years, since the casting of Vivien Leigh in Gone with the Wind, and I'd landed the role. Nobody could have been more gobsmacked than me and my dear mother, who was staying with me for the weekend. And that was the day my life changed forever.
Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is, I never left you.
Tim and Andrew could afford to entrust the starring role to an unknown because they'd already hired the world's greatest living musical theatre director, Hal Prince.
The musical in Britain has been really very much straitjacketed by the fact we don't have any decent directors and choreographers, and we're here working with the marvellous Hal Prince. And I think that we have been able, therefore, to take a subject and tackle it in a way that is not normally done either actually in American theatre or in British theatre, because there's a sort of slight combination of the injection of what Hal has been able to give to us, and I think perhaps what we've been able to give back.
I knew the first time we put it together that it was something fresh and new and enormously electrifying. I felt that. I felt that when I did West Side Story, which I produced. That kind of, just something amazing is happening here because a lot of people took a chance.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
6 years after the premiere of Jesus Christ Superstar, Evita opened in June 1978 to advance ticket sales of £250,000, establishing Rice and Lloyd Webber as far more than one-hit wonders.
Evita as a piece, as a theatrical musical, was probably our peak, just because we all kind of knew what we were doing, and we were still young enough to be a bit off the wall, and yet we were old enough and experienced enough to do it well. With Superstar, we hadn't a clue what we were doing.
She did so well, the audience gave her and the show a standing ovation, and the critics hailed a new star. Hardly anyone seemed happier with it all than Elaine's mother and father, up from Bognor Regis to share their daughter's triumph after 10 years in chorus lines and rep.
Marvellous. I thought she was terrific. Absolutely marvellous.
It's one of those moments, every so often a musical comes along which pushes what the musical can achieve further than anyone had imagined could happen. And what Evita did was it caught what fascinates us all about politics. What we really care about, I think, is the soap opera of power and what that means for us. What does it say about the human condition? And that is exactly what Lloyd Webber and Rice caught in Evita.
High flying adored, did you believe?
A year later, Evita opened on Broadway for a 4-year run, cementing Lloyd Webber and Rice as not just stars of the West End, but also the first British talent to triumph in New York for 15 years. They had the world at their feet.
I don't think at the time we were aware of history or our place in it. We just thought, this is working quite well. I'm not quite sure what we're doing right, but let's keep going.
I won't recall the names and places of the sad occasion, but that's no consolation here and now. So what happens now? So what happens?
But as the 70s came to a close, the unimaginable happened. At the height of their songwriting powers, the partnership came to an end.
Well, it was a sadness that they stopped working together because they were kind of becoming the Rodgers and Hammerstein of modern British musical theatre. They were really consolidating their writing partnership. Sadly, it was over a musical that was in the workings, in the making for me. Tim wanted to write a musical for me, and Andrew had started writing melodies for it. And Tim, at the time, you know, he's a great cricket fan, as everybody knows, and quite slow in writing lyrics. Not everybody knows, but Andrew knew. So he wasn't coming up with the lyrics for Andrew?
I guess my heart wasn't quite in it. We did write one song, and it never really took off. And suddenly I found Andrew was doing it with Don Black.
Take that look off your face. Take that look off your face. I can see through your smile.
Tell Me on a Sunday launched as a TV special in February 1980. It was a new decade, and Andrew had a new writing partner.
The story goes that Andrew bumped into Don Black, and Don, who is prolific, said, "Oh, I'll write you a few lyrics if you want," which he did. So the idea moved from working with Tim to Don, and I think they had a bit of a bust-up over it, to be honest. As I remember it, they fell out over that. And that's really when it all kind of came to a bit of a grinding halt, their partnership.
I think at the time I thought, this is a pity, really. We kind of cocked this one up. We've done quite well, and now we're not going to be Gilbert and Sullivan. What you need for two people to work together is both of them have to be enthusiastic about the same idea. I mean, Andrew always said, "Oh, well, he only works on his own ideas." Well, to a certain extent, that's true, I suppose. But if Andrew came up with an idea that I thought was brilliant, I might have done it. I probably would have done it.
Rice and Lloyd Webber's partnership was over, but together they had helped bring the West End and the British musical back into contention with the might of Broadway. Next time on The Story of the Musical, how in less than a decade the British turned the West End show into a world-beating mega-musical.
We happened to all want to do stories which had a worldwide appeal. None of us knew that up front.
You've got to do it yourself. You are a producer. That's what you do. You've got to produce it yourself.